Hi, Dr. Ernstoff. Thank you so much for joining us today and helping us raise awareness to melanoma cancer. Can we start by just letting us know a little bit about yourself, where you're from?
I'm the chair of the Department of Medicine and the senior vice president for clinical investigation here at Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center. And I oversee a lot of different aspects of clinical research as well as patient care.
Could you tell us about melanoma? What is melanoma?
So melanoma is a form of skin cancer. There are three major forms. There are many minor forms, but there are three major forms most people have heard of. Squamous cell cancer of the skin, basal cell cancer are the most common. And then there's melanoma. Melanoma is probably the most serious of the cancers because of their risk for spread, even when they're small. And so it's important for people to recognize that. All three cancers are related to sun exposure and UV light exposure. So because you're in the sun, it doesn't mean you will get cancer, but it increases your risk significantly and is a modifiable risk factor. So it's the things that we recommend to people: to wear sun block, to be aware of the sun, to not go to tanning salons, to decrease their risk. Family history is also important. So if you have a blood relative that had a melanoma, you're at increased risk. So those individuals clearly need to keep a closer eye on their skin.
What can someone do if they think they have melanoma?
So the signs of melanoma are typically called the A, B, C, D, E. Okay, so it's a spot on your skin that's asymmetrical. It has a fuzzy border. It has different colors. And it's usually about 5 millimeters in size or larger, though they can be smaller. And the E is for evolving. So a mole that is changing or a mole that is itching should bring your eye to it and be aware of that. Most people don't know is that when you're born, you don't have any moles. And if you look at our grandparents, they have a lot of spots, but they don't have a lot of moles. So moles are actually acquired over time, and they are a response to sunlight. And moles usually change very slowly, so we're not even aware of them. So moles that are changing quickly, and as I mentioned, moles that are itching usually refers to inflammation. So inflammation is your body telling you that they don't like that mole. So that should bring your attention to it.
Is there a certain area of the body that's more dangerous than other areas to have melanoma?
So melanoma can occur at all areas, including areas where the sun doesn't shine, but it's typically seen on the sun-exposed areas. So there's a form of melanoma that's typically on your face, laryngomalignant melanoma, and then they're typically on the trunk and the extremities. And there are different distributions between men and women. Women more likely on their extremities, men more likely on their trunk.
And you mentioned you're involved with research here at Roswell. How important is it for the community to support Roswell Park with donations to support that research?
For those that are not aware of how research is funded, the research monies that we get from the government are directed funds. They have to be used in a certain way. And they typically don't always allow you to take on a project that might be high risk, maybe truly a breakthrough. Philanthropic money is not directed. And so those dollars that come to us are worth literally their weight in gold, because we can use those dollars, take our imagination and our creativity, and really explore different avenues that might be true breakthroughs for cancer therapy.
What is the most exciting thing for you to have seen here at Roswell Park in your department? Is there anything exciting that was a breakthrough that really got you excited?
So there are many investigators in my department doing a lot of different research in a lot of different areas. There's a significant footprint at Roswell, as well as other places, of harnessing your body's immune system to fight cancer. It's been in the news. A lot of people are pretty excited about it. Your immune system is very complex. There's a lot of levers on it that make it active or shut it down. And understanding those levers of what stimulate it and what shut it down are critical. And the research that's going on at Roswell and in the Department of Medicine are looking at how to manage those levers, turn them on, and the ones that you need turned on, the ones that stimulate your immune system, and how to turn the ones that break the immune system off. And so there's a number of investigators that are looking at a whole bunch of series of combinations of agents to do that. In addition, there is an area that's called synthetic immunity. So that's where you actually take genes and insert those genes into your immune cells and change those immune cells to do what you would like them to do. And there's a Center for Immunotherapy here led by Dr. O'Dunsey, and they're very much involved with that synthetic approach to do that. Phil McCarthy in the bone marrow transplant program oversees the clinical part of that, because these patients can get pretty sick. They need to be managed very carefully. They have certain toxicities that are unique to that therapy. So you need a real team of experts to manage that, and that team probably represents 20, 30 people that you'll never meet working behind the scene to make that therapy available to you.
So cancer has been treated historically with chemotherapy, and immunotherapy is something that is either treated, along with chemotherapy, or can cancer be treated with just immunotherapy?
So if you go back historically, you got to go back to the turn of the 19th to the 20th century, when one of the first therapies that we developed was radiation therapy, which is still used today, very different than the old days. And there's a lot of work going on because radiation therapy can actually modify your immune system as well. The second was the breakthrough with chemotherapy, which are drugs that modify how cells divide, either by blocking their nutritional pathways or their dividing pathways, and that has certain level of success. We can cure patients with testicular cancer with chemotherapy. So chemotherapy has a significant role in many cancers. Immunotherapy has a long forgotten history. I've been doing immunotherapy for 40 years, so it was a time when people sort of laughed at you. So the newest approaches are what are called targeted therapy and immunotherapy. So targeted therapy, we now recognize that there are certain growth pathways that are changed in cancer cells, so they're always on. So they're always telling the cancer cell to grow. Once you identify the protein that makes that happen, it's a mutated protein, a changed protein, we can create drugs to block that. So those drugs are being used in lung cancer, in melanoma, in leukemia, in lymphoma. There's a whole series of targeted therapy. The last of the foundation is immunotherapy. So, and that really was a breakthrough in the last decade when we began to understand that just trying to fuel the immune system, stimulating it wasn't enough. There were very, very powerful brakes. And it was taking these brakes off that unleashed the immune system to cancer. And the two individuals won Nobel Prizes 2 years ago for identifying those pathways, and we've been able to leverage those pathways to do that. So immunotherapy is used with chemotherapy in lung cancer. It's used with targeted therapy in melanoma. It's used with radiation therapy. So it can be used either on its own or in combination with other therapies. It's a very exciting time.
And from what I hear, is immunotherapy less side effects for patients? Is it a little bit easier for treatment?
So I'm smiling because immunotherapy has a completely different universe of side effects. They are very different than chemotherapy side effects or radiation side effects. So while on one hand they're remarkably well tolerated, these immune checkpoint inhibitors, those are the ones we're talking about, because the cellular therapy is a whole different ball of wax. But the immune checkpoint inhibitors are generally well tolerated, but there is this constellation of side effects that are related to taking the brakes off your immune system. So if you go back and think about how the immune system recognizes your own body when you were developing in utero and first years of life, your immune system is looking at you and saying, this is me, so we get rid of those parts of the immune system that recognize you, so we don't have autoimmunity. That process is not complete. So we all have a few immune cells that can recognize ourselves. They have the same brakes. So when we take the brakes off the immune system, you can develop autoimmune side effects. Rheumatoid arthritis, immune hepatitis, immune colitis like Crohn's disease. And these side effects are typically rare, but can be pretty severe. So and they can occur at any time. It's not like chemotherapy where you get a drug and a week later you're having side effects. These side effects can occur almost at any time, so we got to keep a close eye on them.
Amazing. You know, immunotherapy just seems so exciting to me, and I'm sure a lot of people in our community. Yeah. So recently, Roswell Park was ranked number 14 in the entire United States in cancer care. How exciting is that for you?
So I think there are two ways of evaluating cancer centers. Okay, one is the National Cancer Institute provides a grant to about 45 cancer centers in the country that are NCI designated. Roswell Park was one of the first to be granted that many years ago. We've continued to do very well on that, and it's a source of great pride because it provides it provides the public the understanding that Roswell Park is very deep in its care as well as its research, because otherwise you don't get that designation. The ranking 14 is in the U.S. World News Report, and that has many components to it, but it reflects our effort in patient care. It reflects our commitment to patient care. It reflects our commitment to research, and it reflects our reputation around the country, if not the world, of the quality of care that's being conducted here. So it's a source of great pride to know that we're not just in the top 50, but in the top 14.
Well, congratulations. It's an amazing...
A lot of work by a lot of people.
Yes, a lot of people, earn that, and thank you for all you do. Just recently, the 11-day power play has just reached $5 million in raising funds in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of hockey players that do play in this event. They fundraise all year long, and they train to play a 3-hour shift. Do you have any message for them?
The message is stay safe, play honestly, keep up the great work to support us. We support you, and we really appreciate everything they do.
Thank you, Dr. Ernstoff.
Thank you.